I would say survival mode is one of these switches. You can turn the light on, but the light truly isn't really on for you. You're just going through a lot of emotions with that. And it's not until you finally get through and you're able to switch and truly have it on that it just starts to fill the room and you're able to be able to experience everything. You're not just trying to get through the moment.
Huge part of survival mode is just that autopilot, just existing.
I mean, sometimes if I was in my classes, I never knew I had to repeat kindergarten that year, so I always had that fear in the back of my head. Oh, am I going to not be able to pass? It was really hard because I had a lot of people telling me that I couldn't go to college, I couldn't have the job that I wanted, and I was struggling a lot of those areas. And I just,
As a child, I was on the other end of the spectrum, highly gifted and operating years beyond my peers.
mhm,
And I remember being about maybe 9,
mhm,
and the school wanting to skip me into high school. So I would have skipped maybe 3 grades at
mhm,
that, and go into high school. I said all of that to say, the educational system, the school system was created, in my opinion, to make ideal employees. It is such a burden. My question is, you said, you managed in your 20s to get, more control. What did
mhm.
that look like for you?
I did so much better. My grades improved. I made dean's list for a semester, and I graduated with a bachelor's degree despite being told I couldn't do it. I started to recognize that and made my peace that there's things I can do and there's things I can't do.
It's interesting that you say that because I talk heavily about the 3 phases of
Mhm.
accident survival mode. The first is self awareness, the second is reprogramming, and the third is reinvention. And then you outsource your weaknesses. I am 43 years old. I have not used any element of physics in my real life.
Right,
Like, I know it's part of my life, right? But
right.
the last time I calculated the force of something
Mhm.
was when I was 15.
If you don't like history, well, right now you need to learn it, but eventually someday when you're older, you can turn the history channel off if you don't like that. If somebody doesn't like art, they don't have to go and draw something. If you're not big on math, then well, you don't get a job that involves a lot of math. And another thing was I was not able to ever read the face of a clock with my disability. And I can remember we had that in elementary school, and everybody was like, oh, you're going to have to do this someday. And I've gone through my life with other ways of being able to cope with having my Fitbit, with having digital clocks. I was able to get a math waiver because I couldn't even pass the basic math requirement to get into an algebra class. But when I went to university, I didn't have that option. Instead, what I did was I decided to take a philosophy based math course. And there's a really funny story behind that. I remember whenever I was scheduling for classes, and I told them, oh, I have a math disability. I'm not really good at math. And uh, they were looking at the courses that were open. He said, well, how about you take chemistry? And I looked at him and I said, absolutely not. Because I didn't use any, none of the accommodations would have applied, but I ended up getting an A in the class without them.
And it's not about being a victim because you could have said, wow, I can't even get into algebra. So why would I even
Yeah.
try college or university? Why would I even attempt this? But you didn't limit yourself, right? You were able to push past what would have been fear, hesitation, you know.
I have people that told me I wasn't going to be able to get published or I wasn't going to be able to do news articles or do a lot of these things. And I was able to do all of that.
Actually, we are in so much more control of our lives than we
Mhm.
often give ourselves credit for. And when we recognize that, that's when major shifts happen for us.
I get to notice details that other people will miss. I get to see flowers. I get to see other really neat things. And people will tell me, well, you bring out the details in a flower that I miss. And I get to capture those moments when I'm on my walks.
There's a big difference between doing and being. And your even your description just now of being able to see a flower differently than everyone else, that's presence. That is being able to really appreciate your surroundings and really appreciate the moment. And as
Right.
long as we're fighting the things that we cannot change, we are missing out on so much.
It's all right to do that. I might even have students that'll tell me, oh, I have this mental health disability and I take meds for it. So I don't have to put in anything else. And I'm like, the meds are only going to do a certain amount of stuff. You're going to have to put a lot of hard work into this. And I don't know if I would have the empathy to be able to truly understand what someone's going through unless I went through it myself. One of the things I would just encourage somebody to do is just to walk forward into the light and not to be afraid of that, and also to be that light and not to just go to walk in a world that's dim, but to go in a world full of color and brightness.
I just want to remind you, you were not built to break, but you damn sure were not built to just survive. Disrupt the cycle, reclaim your life, and thrive on your own terms. But here's the truth: you're not broken, you're just unfinished.